But let's also take a look at the 2015 guidelines, which appears contrary to the constitutional provision. Yes, the constitution remains paramount, but why would INEC also be putting so much priority on the cancelled votes?
That gives me the opportunity to elaborate on why I do not necessarily, to explain reasons why INEC may not be totally correct. Section 179 of the Constitution is clear on the requirements to be fulfilled to be returned to the office of governor. Section 179, 2A and B, that it scores 2/3 of all the votes cast. That it scores 25% of 2/3 of 25% in 2/3 of the local governments in that state, and he emerges as winner of majority votes. Once a candidate satisfies those two conditions, the Constitution mandates that he be returned as validly elected.
And what? Okay.
So what we have is a situation where the Constitution has prescribed how it should be done, how a thing should be done, or in this case, how the governor of Osun State should emerge, in that he should score majority votes and that he should have 25% of the votes cast in 2/3 of all the local governments in Osun State. We have the 2015 manual, as we have alluded to. I think it's paragraph 3.11 of the manual, which seems to add an extra condition. So it then becomes a question of the Constitution has spoken. Can any other enactment, any other legislation, in this case, and badly so too, the guideline made by the chairman of INEC, can it be seen that the guidelines will supplant the provisions of the Constitution on this subject?
But that's highly impossible. The Constitution is paramount, right? Superior.
Unfortunately, that's what we're seeing play out in this scenario. We have a situation where the Constitution has spoken, and the INEC appears to be using the provisions of the guidelines, or the manual in this case, sorry, it's the manual. There's the manual and there's the manual in this case to supplant the provisions of the Constitution. I was involved in the Falike INEC series. I actively participated in the litigation that followed that election. And it was our position that at the time that Audu, I can't remember his first name, the late Audu, at the time that he passed on, he had fulfilled these conditions in section 179, 2A and B, in that he had scored majority of lawful votes cast. And he had 25% in 2/3 of all the local governments in Kogi State. And there was no reason not to return him. So to introduce a condition not contemplated in the Constitution, to subject the Constitution to another thing outside of it, or other stipulations outside of it, is something that we find unacceptable, especially in view of decisions of the Supreme Court that have clearly stated that where the Constitution has spoken, or where the Constitution has laid down conditions, no other law can add, modify, alter, or in any way supplement the provisions of the Constitution, except the Constitution, as an attribute of its supremacy, gives or expressly donates such powers.
Now, it seems as though there's a huge issue with consistency here because, like I said earlier, INEC had the same similar situation in Edo State with Oshiomhole and Osubo. And in that case, whereby there was an inconclusive result, and again, we had cancelled votes there as well. In this case, the cancelled votes went to each individual parties and the PDP resulted as the winner. And in that case, it was Oshiomhole. Why this time is INEC kind of focusing on the cancellation of votes and reruns? Because based on what the rules are, INEC is kind of picking and choosing. What do you have to say about this?
Well, I'm not clear as I sit here whether the Osumbo case is particularly apt in this circumstance, because what happened in Osumbo, they had gone to the tribunal, and the tribunal looked at the results, looked at the evidence and the case presented by the parties, and came to a decision that Professor Osarime Osumbo was not got some of those votes in a manner that was inconsistent with the Electoral Act. So the court simply deducted his votes and, based on what was left after the deduction, returned Comrade Adams Oshiomhole, who incidentally is the chairman of the APC today,
yes,
as validly elected. In this case, because you need to look at the Electoral Act I think Section 53, allows INEC to cancel elections where there's overvoting or where it turns out that the number of registered voters or the number of votes recorded exceeds the number of registered or accredited voters. It allows INEC to cancel such elections, or the polling officer at the polling unit to cancel such an election. So, and fix another date for a rerun. So, in those, or for a rerun, for another election, pardon me, in that particular polling unit. That duty is the duty of the polling officer at that particular polling unit. So, in view of that provision, it's a bit justifiable to say that, well, INEC is acting within its powers to say, look, in ABC, XYZ polling units, we observed irregularities, as they've already alluded to in the report we read about, Aida, the local government, and some other places.
Yes.
One other local government, I can't immediately recall the name. INEC recorded,
I think is what you're looking at.
Recorded irregularity. There were cases of irregularities, ballot box snatching I have read as well. And
votes buying,
yes, on that basis, INEC, the polling unit officers or the polling officers in that polling unit has the right under the law to cancel such an election and fix a further date.